Hi, this is Robert of MayflowerBookshop.com, and I'm outside looking at probably the last rose of the summer. The birds are singing. There's lots of dark clouds and the sun's kind of trying to come through. There's a blue of the lavender, last of the lavender, blue flowering, last of the basil. It's October in Michigan. It's also garbage day. Garbage day is always good, although I wish we could compost everything, help things grow in the future. And I think that is the secret of why there's such a thing as death. Not only to break up the marriages of consciousness being over-identified with form, but to compost our experience, digest our experience, find meaning and purpose from everything we experience, so that it becomes the compost or fertilizer for the future. We die, and according to Theosophy and Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner and others, we see our life completely clearly. We see it backwards, from the moment of death all the way back to our birth. And we re-experience our birth and come forward, experiencing what everybody else experienced of us, including what trees experienced. Meditation is learning to be centered in your thinking in spite of the noise and apocalypse of the world, in spite of the garbage trucks, the compost heaps, the noise makers, the news makers, the weapons makers, the business only for profit, not worrying about what happens to the world. The thinking that dispels wrong materialistic thinking is when we see the purpose of things and the meaning that fit into the whole. We see something and we know where it came from. Its biography. It's biography of the fact that we're on the fourth earth. In the Theosophy of the Rosicrucian thinking, mineral, plant, animal, human. The human being is the fourth earth. And within the human being is physical, emotional, mental, summing up in the fourth way, the sense of I am. And in the sense of the soul that I am, I'm connected to all life, past, present, and future. And I'm connected to a radical stillness that can listen, glean, and a mind that can handle this connection to everything and nothing, or time and space connection, moving and unmoving connection. Like the I Ching lines are moving and unmoving, right? But there's a selfless person for the moment looking at that. Rudolf Steiner points out that if you really try to see or think about what I'm saying right now, you have to kind of hold still and be selfless to look at it. And when we behold beauty in nature and wonder and awe, the awe that comes, and we see the beauty and we have this awe and this wonder and this encountering of nature and the river and the tree and the stone and the bird and the sky and animals. To a certain extent, if we really see and hear and sense, we hold still, and then something moves in us to be part of it all. And either we're wrecking it, or we're helping it, or we're creatively playing and interacting, participating. And a lot of happiness, by the way, a lot of happiness comes when we can be participant with each other and the world around us, the whole of our life, and the future of the earth. So, in many ways, there is no death. There's a metamorphosis and transformation, a transliteration, a transubstantiation, a transfiguration. There's an alchemical process, a spiritual process of coming into being and becoming, letting go and surrendering, ascending into or deepening into some oneness or stillness, and emerging again into the multiplicity of events and multitasking. And there's a breath and a mind and a heart that kind of transitions into the moving and unmoving and higher and deeper and spiritual material worlds, the Purusha Prakriti, born and unborn worlds. So I thought I would share this idea about death. There's another idea of death that I want to mention, and this is the idea that when we die, once we have 3 days of totally seeing our life really clearly, that we're kind of stuck on a subtle, spiritual, etheric, astral, well, probably more astral, actually. The first 3 days are the etheric coming to know and returning the vital energies of the movement of the cosmos. We give, like what animates us from the stars and planets, we give back. And it influences our etheric body that nourished us with the prana and the vitality of the stars and animated us, but also gave us very pleasing spiritual insights into our connection. And when we die, I mean, at another time I would like to go over the Tibetan Buddhist version of this, death and rebirth, death, bardo, and rebirth. But right now I'm trying to talk about the Hermetic, Rosicrucian, Theosophical, Rudolf Steiner kind of approach to the whole thing. And everybody you talk to will have a slightly different version, you might say. We're all standing in a little bit of a different position to see, hear, feel, know, sense. So when we die, the first 3 days, it's thought that people should be, whoever dies should be left alone to clearly see their life as a whole, as a one moment that makes sense of a super, of a sixth, fifth and sixth and seventh sense, hopefully. And then we shed, like we drop our physical body, we drop our etheric body, and it's returned to the cosmos. And then we go into, for a third of the life we lived, like if we lived to be 60, that would be 20 years, and if you're 21, that's 7 years. If you're 30, it's 10 years. You get it? If you're 45, it's 15 years. A third of your life. We then, after we die and get rid of our physical and etheric body, drop it, because we're too big for it. But if we cling to if we're in the Klingons, the bad guys, we cling to the form. And that's why death is here, that we get to identify with form and stuck, and we turn our homes and our life cycles into a funeral home rather than a renewing, regenerative, alchemical, transformative, exhilarating, renewing experience of life and who we are. So after we die, I'm getting there, I'm trying to get there. Help me out. Okay. After we die, we drop our physical and our etheric, and then for a third of the life we live, that many years about, we're in the astral plane, kind of stuck this side of the moon. I'm going to get it out here. And so we're spiritual beings on the astral and possibly egoic spiritual sense of experience and learning. We're stuck here in a way for a third of our life, to experience what everybody else experienced of us, and how we could influence, how we could have done better, like that. And perhaps if you're to a degree you're enlightened, you're actually helping on the other side. That's where you get people that say, well, my grandmother died and I think she helps me and I had a dream of her. And I mean, we get these like glimpses of when the ocean tide comes in. We fall asleep at night and the ocean tide comes in, and we visit the ocean of life, and through our guardian angel and the Holy Spirit, you might say. These are all words that change for different cultures, and they'll change in the future, and it's our job to make these words work so that we're empowered, awakened. We enthusiastically wish to participate with life and each other in a way that would heal the world and grace the world and awaken and celebrate this great life and light and love that we are capable of. So we're hung out after we drop the physical and etheric body. We're hanging in this side of the moon before we can go through. Our soul can travel and journey through the Venus and Mercury and get to the sun sphere, where we're all avatars and adepts and have received the fourth initiation in the Theosophical Alice Bailey terminology, and even in Tibetan Buddhism, Arhat. They have different names for this, but basically I think that we transform the thinking and the feeling emotions and the physical as like the first three steps, and then we get to a sense of our Hermes, our Christ, Buddha, our Athena, Artemis, Isis, Sophia, Mary's self, if you will. These are just words, but we need words that invoke our higher self. And that's the difference between intellectuality that just tells you this stuff, like we're safe, you're looking at this automatic process. But there's ways of coming to understand Steiner and Anthroposophy and Theosophy and Blavatsky, and there's ways of understanding Yogananda, Vivekananda, the Dalai Lama, Gaelic Rinpoche. There's ways of understanding Gurdjieff, whatever way you want to say it. Gurdjieff. There's ways of understanding Hazrat Khan, Pir Vilayat Khan, his son, the Sufi. There's ways of understanding Manly Haw even, and Hermetics and Neoplatonism, that can empower us, me, to have a sense of a self that's participating with all life. I think meditation helps us to have like a stillness, like when noise happens and cars go by and trucks go by and planes go by, that we have an ability to listen and to see what's up, and to choose out of our own free will what will make us rich, what will make us rich forever, what will make us inwardly rich, so that we can flow outwardly to enrich and enliven the world. Like in biodynamics, they're enlivening the soil and its relationship, the inner earth relationship to the sky. In yoga, we're learning to concentrate and asana, focus, come to the point, and then relax and be absorbed into an inner stillness between the asanas. I mean, that's one approach to it. In the Bhagavad Gita, how we learn to act out of freedom. To act out of freedom and to act out of one-pointedness and non-attachment, to do our best and be non-attached. In the Gita, they really bring you to this, every form of meditation there is. And if you I don't know, it seems like nobody has time. People seem to find a spiritual group and or the noises around them distract them. they distract me. It's not about losing your focus. It's not about that you're not going to fall off your horse or make a mistake. It's about how fast you can get back on the horse of spiritual instruction, in being inwardly struck, so that we can outwardly ennoble and virtue ourselves. We have to make up new words. Emerson was always trying to make up new words. The Tibetans often try too, I think. So there's this, the world's going to constantly attack us with noise and craziness and surprise and the necessities of life and things that we have to do. We have to fix our teeth and not eat so stupidly or ignorantly, and we need exercise. We need to clean our room. We need to compost parts of ourselves and give away other parts, and we need to hang on to certain parts of ourselves so that we can be here, not just now, but we can be here in the past, present, and the future, and in that fourth way of radical stillness, wholeness. The radical stillness is actually the womb of the heart that births the gods, the spirit that nests in the heart, spirit. Out of our heart soul, we birth a ever-renewing spirit of the good, true, and beautiful. Plato said the good, true, and beautiful was the experience of God. It wasn't an ideal. So again, this is Robert of MayflowerBookshop.com, sitting outside with a beautiful little yellow rose that has somehow survived for these last couple weeks, actually. I'm not sure if it's the cold weather a little bit, as well as the warm. And the sun broke through the clouds, and the basil is still here. Everything looks a little bit weathered and falling, right? It's not falling, it's falling in love, with the whole universe. We don't really die, we just fall into a greater love. And so there's something with Rudolf Steiner I wanted to mention too. After I gave the talk on death, the previous talk on death, I wanted to add to it because I had kind of forgotten until my friend at Rudolf Steiner Archives posted, right after I did the death talk, he posted a thing on how we re-experience our dreams after we die. And this is a little bit, Rudolf Steiner says a little bit different things, later he talks about the etheric that nourishes us. But in other places he talks about the cosmic nutrition where we feed the angels of a higher self. We feed it through our moral imagination and ethical future that we strive. There's a cosmic nourishment and doing, and there's a cosmic thinking as well as an everyday sense, materialistic thinking of red lights and bills to pay and things we need to do, right? And there's some kind of spiritual soul that's evolving between these highest ideals we have that for many of us are very sleepy and dreamy and hardly here for some. Some people deny the spirit because they'd be so embarrassed over the materialistic life they're living. Other people deny the materialism. They deny the body. They deny the physical needs and evolution, and they deny the physical world, and they want to escape into spiritual worlds, and they can't really pay their own bills, and they're terrified if they lost what they have because they don't have anything. And so, and they don't even have it, because to really have something and be really rich, you have to have something inward as well as outward. And you don't need a ton of anything. And that could, if you have too much money or not enough, it could be a problem. So I wanted to mention in our little time together, and thank you for listening. I hope that you benefit from this. But I wanted to mention that after we die, we're responsible for our dreams. And so that's why the yogis, the better yogis, and the better Tibetan Buddhists have sleep yoga. And Rudolf Steiner has tons of stuff on sleep, and Blavatsky has it I wrote a book called The Hermetic Dream, where I tried to go into dream interpretation that everybody's you, to try to make some holistic vision or view of this whole thing. But I did it when I was really young, and I've given a number of talks on dreams and sleep. A lot of people have a lot of trouble sleeping because they don't really have the right relationship to the spiritual world, or they don't have the right relationship to the material world. And a number of people, especially even recently and a number of years ago, a number of people have resolved their sleep disorder or trouble where they couldn't sleep and they're restless and they have worries by taking colloidal minerals. It's really good to get like seaweed or some kind of, if you go to the health food store, you can find combinations of aloe vera, seaweed, and they have different ones that are more from food, vitamins from food and not from chemistry labs that are dead in the etheric world. But the food still has that etheric vitality connected to the breath of the cosmos and the earth. And so I know somebody just recently, and they had a sleep disorder, and I had somehow, they're a client of mine astrologically, and I remembered how many people I had helped with colloidal minerals through that. That's one of the secrets. I mean, besides not eating late and getting rid of sugar out of your life, but even if you eat a bunch of sugar, colloidal minerals can help balance that out. It's a yin-yang thing. And I strongly advise you to go to Mayflower and get the book Self-Healing Cookbook by Kristen Turner for further ideas of food as medicine, which was the original impulse of Om Cafe, and it's still an impulse in places like even the parlor up in Traverse City and other places. So when we die, we experience our dreams. And I think our dreams are these honest, brutally honest spirit reckonings of like things we didn't fully experience in the right way during the day or the past few days or month or year or whatever in our lifetime. And significant dreams are significant. They're trying to tell you something that's even more important. And so when do we experience our dreams? I'm still researching it. If you think you found a place where Steiner talks about it, let me know. But I know that from what I understand, and it's worth your pondering, for 3 days we re-experience ourselves really clearly. And then we process our etheric body and return to the cosmos. All the impulsive and highly cognitive energetics we have get returned to the cosmos. I think parts of us are steadfast sparks of sun and stars. Part of us are comets flying through all over the place. Parts of us are dead meteors dropping stuff here and there and flying around. Part of us is like planets with really incredible reliability and persistence and patterns of behavior that, if we can't be a sun, we humble planet be. If we can't be a planet, humble moon. I talk about that in my 5 talks on the voice of the silence, which I think is worthy of any poet or artist. It's like a combination of everything East and West, and a summary of the greatest spiritual teachings of the East put in Western vocabulary. The Voice of the Silence by Blavatsky. And when she uses amazing amounts of different words from all these different spiritual cultures in history, she puts at the bottom of the page what it means so that you can easily follow. And it's a mystical, poetic, inspirational book. But there's a lot of these things that we can find, and it's imperative in these troubling times that we have some part of our life that we realize we're at a funeral. Emerson said during his time, he was friends with Abe Lincoln, helped further the idea of the Emancipation Proclamation, and he was all for America being a noble, virtuous embodiment and emulation model for the world. Emerson said that at his time that we look at Mother Nature, we look at nature and we see an old man that's crippled and about to die. It's getting worse. But it's a great time. It's a great time to learn the essence of all spiritual teachings and apply it in your life. If you're too tired and old, even if you're 21 or 30 and you're too old, well, okay, you can join some spiritual group and go to sleep. Be at rest. Be part of a family. Be a little kid that's part of a bigger identity, and you don't have to worry about stuff. You can just play and eat and stuff, eat and poop, watch things. Sorry if you're offended by that, but I think there's no shame or blame here. It's just that the work that I do and at Mayflower Bookshop is to quicken what nature takes too long to do, and to help recruit, it's probably not recruit, but help spark and awaken people I meet to find spirituality, and to realize how many different ways there are to have a world perceiving and a world conception and a sense of oneself birthing into a more fuller participation with all life, the whole of your life, and the future destiny of the earth. And so I want to mention, if you didn't get it, I'm talking about death, and if you live a really good life, if you have a good relationship with someone or something while it's alive, you're going to have a good relationship when it's dead, or she's dead, or he's dead, or it's dead. If you have a good relationship with the living, you're going to have a good relationship afterwards, because nobody dies. They live on in our hearts, and they just change form. And yeah, we miss that form. And everybody who goes, it leaves more to us to do, to carry. We carry these other people and their aspirations and dreams and their redemptive virtues that strive. So when we die, we drop the body, and then we have a second death or parting of the ways. They call it death when you identified with the lower part. It's a rebirthing into the higher realms when you identify with the higher self. And so we drop the body because the etheric astral and the ego and the spiritual bodies are too big, and the body no longer can hold it. And we drop the etheric body, and we drop the astral body even, and we identify with spiritual beings and their essential spiritual heart mind. And we ever travel on. And our love and compassion for life and people keeps bringing us back, So we go into a spiritual world, which I'm not going into detail about what I think all about that, but we go in this in-between state between death and rebirth, and we return to our unbornness. We return to the purest, holy, truest self that we last remembered when we were little kids, but it really goes back into the life between death and rebirth, between all of our lifetimes, and we experience ourselves as spiritual beings. And I think in silent meditation, we rediscover our unbornness, is what Steiner calls it, and that term is referred to in the Secret Doctrine. I know I'm getting feedback that some people are offended, but they're probably sleeping too much in one of these organizations. But I love all those organizations, and I participate with every organization, at least at one point or another I have. And inwardly, everything lives within me. And I'm not putting down belonging to an organization or a little clique of students. What I'm promoting is, and what I'm pushing, I'm not really promoting, but what I'm helping, what I'm offering is that the best of all spiritual teachings should work together for making this world a better place, instead of being exclusive and jealous and selfish and one-upmanship and secretive. Rudolf Steiner thought the true spiritual temple, that there should be no more secrets like that. I mean, look how secretive science is in weaponry and new products that sell and to make money, and how things are made so that nobody else can have that secret, and nobody else can know that they're doing bad things too, because it's all secretive, that we're not intelligent and wise enough to know everything. A lot of people think that. Moms and dads think that about their kids, and then sometimes they prematurely adultize their kid by giving them too much adult stuff, see? So it's a really catch-22, and it calls upon us to find a middle way or golden mean. And it calls upon us to be patient, like a mom or a teacher. But the times, the challenging times we're in necessitate that more of us wake up and see that's why Mother Nature's going a little crazy. It's Mother Nature's way of telling us something's wrong. And if we can hold still for 3 minutes a day, the heart will awaken with a true ear for listening to the deep Mother Nature's essence and pureness, the ultimate Sophia, the stillness of God, the listening wisdom of God that's in our stillness, our connection to that. And only you can do it. I can tell you about it, other people can tell you about it, but only you can shut up and sit up straight for 3 minutes a day and be totally still, wishing that you would encounter, hear, experience something that would help bring peace to this planet and each other and to yourself. If nothing else, I promise, if you could be still for 3 minutes a day and listen with your heart. The heart is the single ear. The heart is the third ear, but it's really the single ear that brings the opposites together. This is something I discovered on my own years ago in revelation and meditation. At the very minimum, if we can be seated in our heart and listen, we'll become peaceful and less anxiety and healthier. We'll get insights into why things happen and the wisdom of our being and becoming. So I'm probably overspending myself. We're at 33 minutes. This is Robert of MayflowerBookshop.com. Feel free to share, dare to keep learning. Feel free to donate, even if it's books, to help promote the expense of being on the internet. They're always making it more expensive. You have to update everything and fix things. And so if you like this and you benefit, at the very minimum, at the very minimum, you should donate some of your time to helping people less fortunate. Because we have neither friends nor enemies. We have only teachers. And some of them teach us what to do, and we'll be like them. Maybe better. And some teach us what not to do, or we'll end up like them. When the student is ready, the teaching is almost everywhere. But until you're ready, you know the things that I strongly, several schools of thought that I think are the best ways of freeing yourself with insight, wisdom, enlightenment, and ability, capacity. So this is Robert of MayflowerBookshop.com, wishing you well on the journey, my fellow friends and Grail questers, knights of the golden stone. There's always wonderful imaginations of this. Blessings. See it down the road. After, of course, you share. Oh, I almost forgot. Share yourself with people that are less fortunate, and you'll find out how hard it is to teach. Be a student of those who know more than you. In any area, try to figure it out. Try to see if you can learn it. We're all teachers and students. And if you find the right balance, you're going to be happy. Bless your hearts. Bless your gardens. Bless your music. I hope you find the song of life. See ya.